This is Elvis, the ultimate fan channel, the global Elvis community fan channel.
Hi everyone, welcome once again to Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel, the global Elvis community channel. Now, as you've probably guessed by the introduction to this video, this is my review or my opinion on the Elvis Evolution show that's currently running in London at the XL Exhibition Centre. And first of all, I'd like to say hello to Phil, Julie, Paul, Sharon, Adrian and Lindsay, who I met at the show, and thanks very much for coming up and introducing yourself, and thanks for the support of the channel. Now, Thursday, August the 21st is when me and myself and my wife attended the 1:45 p.m. show. And when we arrived in London a couple of days prior to going to Elvis Evolution, it was well over an hour, maybe even 2 hours before I saw the first advertisement or billboard or whatever you want to call it for Elvis Evolution. So first of all, I'm not 100% sure how well Elvis Evolution is actually being promoted and sort of advertised, if you like. To be in London for a couple of hours, you know, on the trains, on the underground, walking along the streets, all those sort of things, seeing plenty of advertising for other movies and shows and things like that, but nearly 2 hours before we saw anything for Elvis Evolution. So that's the first thing that struck me. So then we come to the day, the big day. Of course, we've all heard a lot of negative reviews about this from fans, from people who have been to the show, the press, all those sort of things since July. Since I think it was the 18th of July, I believe, that it opened. So with that in mind, we decided that we would try and blot all that out and go with a completely open mind. Now, we did know prior to going to the show that there was no hologram. That was one of the major sticking points of this show, is the initial blurb, the initial release, if you like, and promotion and media sort of announcement was that there would be AI, there would be it would culminate in Elvis hologram. And then around about sort of, well, I suppose March, April time, they said that a vendor had unfortunately gone out of business and they would have to reschedule and push it to July. And that's my own personal belief, that's when I think that things really changed for this show. I believe that it was around about then that they realized that they couldn't produce what they'd first promised, and they had to make a major decision. Do we just scrap this and maybe do it at a later date, or do we try and carry on and fill in the gaps where this hologram should have been? And of course, it now comes to light that they made the decision to carry on. This is all my own personal view. I don't know how accurate this is, but this is the feeling that I get. So we walk in and you go into Bob's Burbank Diner, okay, which is where you're welcomed. Friendly staff, everybody very, very welcoming. It's obviously based on Big Bob's Diner that was across the road from Burbank, the Burbank studios. There was an okay selection of food and drinks of the period, 1968. There was a jukebox playing Elvis songs the whole time. Great, fantastic, great start. And I must say at this point that myself and my wife we paid for the VIP, the middle rate. There was just the ordinary €75, the 180 VIP, and the €300 extra special VIP or whatever it was. We didn't go that far, but we paid for the 180. We were the only two VIPs in our group, the 145 group. So more about that in a few minutes. So we wait for about 15, 20 minutes, taking all the atmosphere in. I mean, Bob's Diner was Burbank Diner was very nice. It was done out very authentically. The atmosphere was good. Food and drink was okay. And then we were called in. Myself and my wife were called in first. It said, anybody with VIP passes, please present yourself to the studio entrance now. So myself and my wife go through double doors. We walk down a corridor, and there are ladies with clipboards and headsets and mics, and they say, welcome to Studio 4. So we're shown into the backstage area of NBC Studio 4 first, and we walk around, and it's sort of like a period sort of area where it's sort of 1968. And then a guy comes in, you sit round in a circle sort of thing, and VIPs have an area where we're at the front. Not that it made much difference anyway, because it was only a small area. And it's called Backstage at NBC, and this lasts about 15 minutes. And basically what it is first of all, someone pretending to be somebody called Cameron is a trainee floor manager, and he's talking about welcome to NBC, and you know, it unfortunately the acting was quite a little bit too much. It was almost like overboard, if you like. It was exaggerated. If they could have acted just a little bit more natural, it wouldn't been maybe as uncomfortable, if you like. You know, I know there was a lot of people kind of a little bit uncomfortable because of the overacting. And then a lady floor manager comes on then and tells him that they can't find Elvis because he's so nervous and he doesn't come on. And then Sam Bell arrives in the backstage area saying that he got a ticket over in Big Bob's restaurant, and he's looking for Elvis. And she says, no, you can't come in, and all this. And then he kind of starts talking to us and puts on Mystery Train and sort of asks people to sort of, you know, hey, what's your moves like? And he was sort of trying to get people to dance, but it wasn't kind of working. And then the next thing is we're shown into a train. It's a fake train. It doesn't move. It vibrates at times. And there's a huge screen in front of us, and this sort of supposedly teleports us back to Tupelo, and Sam is telling us all about them growing up and all that sort of thing, and then it takes us through Beale Street and obviously Elvis's gospel influences and things like that. This goes on for 35 minutes, so it's quite a long sort of session, if you like, and there's a few. I mean, I've got notes here that says that you know, the acting in some of the Mystery Train sequence was very good, and some of it wasn't so good. They showed obviously the part where Elvis is in Sun Studios, but it's all done with sort of shadows and things like that. There's no hologram. It's just shadows and things like that of Elvis with a mic recording. There's something that kind of caught me by surprise. They hinted at a Sam Phillips and Marion Keisker affair. At one point they get into a clinch and he gets her up against the desk, which I didn't think was very appropriate, and I think it's actually not true. I remember reading Peter Guralnick's Last Train to Memphis, and it was sort of hinted that Marion had hoped for more from Sam, but Sam wasn't interested. So I'm not quite sure that is accurate. So that's something to watch out for. Another thing is, obviously, there was different actors for different groups. So maybe the actors weren't as over the top in other groups. I don't know, but because there was other groups coming behind us all the time. It wasn't the same actors for the same groups. So I will say that as well. So some of it was good in the Mystery Train, and some of it was not so good. And I enjoyed parts of the reenactments of some of Elvis's career in the from sort of 1953 to what they said sort of 1958 when he went into the army. Then there's like what we call or they call an interval, a 20-minute interval where you're shown into the Blue Hawaii bar, and again, it's not too bad. It's quite well themed. It's okay. There's music playing, of course, and there's this big screen showing Elvis and sort of more sort of things about his movies and things like that. And then there's commentary about how Marlon Mason says that he wished he could do a really good picture because he knew that Hollywood was laughing at him. And there's another sound clip from an interview I did with Tiger Beat's Ann Moses that says that the 68 special, Elvis was like sex on legs. So then after about 15, 20 minutes, the staff from behind the bar disappear and Sam Bell reappears. And it kind of he has a conversation with a backing singer, one of the Blossoms, I take it, in the 68 special, that says that she's just been recording with Elvis. And then the VIPs, myself and my wife, are shown into the green room of NBC's Studio 4. Again, only VIP, so it's just myself and my wife in there. There was some quite interesting artifacts in there, but again, nobody was sort of telling you what what you could look at and what you were seeing and things like that. I mean, fair enough. Myself, being a fan of over 50 years, I knew what I was looking at, but there would be other newer fans or just casual fans that wouldn't really know what they were looking at. And then, of course, we get to the really sort of nitty gritty, if you like, and that is the 68 special and beyond. And again, this goes on for 35 minutes. This 35 minutes didn't seem as long as the 35 minutes of the Mystery Train, probably because this was probably the most enjoyable part of the whole experience. Again, you've got the lady floor manager that comes on and points out the applause lights and says, I'm sure you know what that means. When they flash, we want to hear you applaud and everything like this. So she's trying to sort of make you believe that you are now the audience waiting for Elvis to come on. Obviously, this is another area where I believe the hologram would have fitted in, along with when we were on the Mystery Train and they were showing Sam and Marion and sort of the shadow of Elvis recording in Sun Studio. Now it shows it shows an actor in a black suit walking around, but it doesn't show his face. His face is in shadow, so it is an actor, obviously. It's not a hologram. And there is a picture on the Elvis Evolution website that shows Elvis's face in the bulb rimmed mirror in his dressing room, looking in the mirror, and you see Elvis's face. You don't see that in the show. He's just stood in front of the mirror, but you can see his midriff reflected in the mirror, not Elvis's face. There is a brief shot of an AI-generated Elvis where he looks like he's sort of sat in his dressing room. It's a large picture of Elvis, and you can see that he's kind of looking down nervously, waiting to come on. And then this is quite impressive. You've got Elvis's point of view following behind a stagehand as she leads him through the corridors, and you can hear Bob Finkel saying, "Get sort of, getting the crowd ready." We've all heard this from the Elvis Presley outtakes of the NBC TV special. Welcome to NBC TV and the Elvis Presley special. And you can hear the heartbeat is getting faster and faster and faster, and this is supposed to be Elvis's heartbeat. And you get to the double doors going in to the actual stage itself, and you hear Bob Finkel say, "And here's Elvis Presley." The doors open, and that moment, I fully believe, is where the hologram was going to begin. But instead, the doors burst open, and 3 musicians come on and sit on the red-rimmed stage that we know so well from the 68 TV special. And then Elvis is on big screens behind them, performing hits from the NBC TV special. And my wife actually said to me afterwards she wasn't sure why the 3 musicians were there, because all the music was being played, obviously, it came from the NBC TV special. They weren't playing any of those instruments. However, when they came on afterwards, later, near the end of the show, they were actually playing those instruments. But my wife wasn't sure why they were there, and I think it was just to fill in where Elvis would have been standing on the stage. That's what it was. So, yeah, did I see happy faces? Yes, I did. Did I see unhappy faces? Yes, also. I didn't spot this, but my wife told me after we left that there was one lady who just stood in the corner during the 68 TV special final part that I'm talking about now, and refused to watch. The person she was with tried to, on numerous occasions actually, to get her to watch, but she just kept shaking her head and refused to watch it. So that was something that I didn't see, but my wife brought that to my attention afterwards. And then, oh, by the way, the music in the 68 TV special segment at the end is very, very, very loud, extremely loud. And I've got to say this to Layered Reality, that trying to make up for something by just jacking up the volume is not going to work. That doesn't work. I'm sorry, but if you're trying to sort of cover the shortfalls with no hologram by jacking up the volume, no, it does not work. Definitely does not work. The after show all shook up party. Okay, the DJ brilliant because he was playing all Elvis songs. The live band, okay. I know this sounds a little bit sexist, but it was a lady singing, and I didn't say this, but my wife actually said it. She says, there's certain songs that really should be sung. Elvis songs should be sung by a man. She said, for instance, "Burning Love" just doesn't work really with a woman singing it. So that's just an opinion from a casual fan, that maybe they should get a male singer. But the female singer in the band and the band sort of accompanying her was okay. But that's just one thing that was pointed out to me. Maybe they should have a male singer, not a female singer, because, as we know, Elvis is the male. So that's sort of my take on Elvis Evolution. Would I go back? Because I know there are people that are going back. They enjoyed it so much that they're going back again. Personally, I would not. I would not go back again. Once was enough. Do I think it was overpriced? I do, actually. I do think it's overpriced. For the €300, I'm not sure what much more they would have got than the 180 that we got, or even the €75 that people paid. I know we got a photo with Elvis You stand in front of a green screen, and then you have the photograph taken, and then they drop the Elvis in behind you. We got a free drink in the Blue Hawaii bar and a free drink in the after party, but that really doesn't add up to the difference between €75 and €180. I think some of the show was really, really good, and some of it wasn't so good. So I'm sort of 50-50 on that. I do believe it's incomplete. You could nearly see where along the show the holograms were going to fall, and where they'd sort of patched it up. So it's incomplete. I believe it's an incomplete show. And it was lacking in certain areas. I can see what they were trying to do. Don't get me wrong. But I just feel that because there was no hologram, a lot of people will be disappointed. However, as I will say, I did see happy faces as well. I did see people enjoying themselves. I did see people dancing along. I did see people just having a great time in the after show party, all shook up. But I did see some people that were clearly disgruntled as well, and a little bit disappointed. Again, I'm going to say what a lot of people have been saying. I think you have to go with an open mind and experience it yourself, and obviously not expect to see what we thought we were going to see a couple of years ago when it was first announced, i.e. a hologram. That really, there's no more I can really say on it. If you have enjoyed this video and you want to see more from this channel, then please do subscribe and click the bell and select all notifications, and you'll get notifications every time I go live. I do hope you've enjoyed my own personal opinions on Elvis Evolution. I will stress that I do believe it's not as bad as some have made out. But then again, it's definitely not what we were expecting when we first heard about Elvis Evolution either. So it's entirely up to you as an Elvis fan, or even just an Elvis casual fan, whether you want to go to see this Elvis Evolution show. And until next time, I will see you on a live show Sunday, September the 7th. Bye for now.